Welcome out there to another episode of The Elephant in the Room. I will be the host, Anthony Likes. I got my guy, Dre Davis, and I got the man of very few words himself, the Cornelius Finison. I just want to start off with, before we discuss the elephant in the room, it is still Roll Tide for life, death, and anything after that. It's still Roll Tide. It wasn't the prettiest game yesterday. I'll let y'all go ahead first before I speak my piece. Who want to go ahead and address the elephant in the room first? What do we see the biggest glaring issue?
The biggest issue is the defense. They couldn't make no tackles, couldn't make no stops, penalties at the wrong time. You had one where they had to stop, but I think it was number one, the cornerback.
The money made that tackle.
The late hit. So you give them another fresh set of downs, and then they capitalize off of it. They got pushed around on the line. Secondary, they were average. And you had a lot of missed tackles. That wasn't your typical Alabama defense that was showed yesterday.
I would say. No, go ahead.
Offensively, Ty did good for his first game. He didn't turn the ball over. He did have some times where he was hesitant, but for the most part, for it being his first start on the road in a hostile environment, he did good. Completing the short passes. I think the deep ball, he needs to work on that, but for the most part, he did good in my opinion.
I really feel like we lost the trench battle on both sides. The most important play in that game was 7-0. Florida State gets the ball 3rd and 11. They throw a bomb that changed the entire game in the first quarter.
We called a Pete Golden special cover zero blitz that never works in Alabama football today. In this era of Alabama football, it doesn't work.
With a 6'4" corner on a slot receiver who can move.
Go ahead and continue making your thesis.
So, overall, after that score, we just continued to lose in the trenches. It was very hard, difficult, troubling at times to watch Deontay Lawson on the field. I know he's coming off a major injury, but I'm not critical of him because I know he's out there because he's very experienced. But I don't know if he's exactly all the way 100% at game speed, or if there just needs to be a change in how they scheme him. But in open field yesterday, he didn't do everything. But there was some flashes here and there, but there was nobody on either side of the ball that had an edge yesterday. Nobody that wanted to go hit Castellanos and remind him, like, for at least the next 5 to 10 plays, don't think about running the ball. Mm-hmm. Like, that never happened. So, and there's always the golden key out there in the world that unlocks the door to Alabama and Gus Malzahn. I knew as soon as they showed him on the screen the first time that we were in trouble. And so he schemes very well against Alabama defenses overall. He schemes very well against Alabama as a team overall. So, and just as a play caller, he was able to really get in his bag, especially with a mobile quarterback in Castellanos. I think it was just a very greatly coached game by Florida State more than anything. I think it was a very bad coaching job from Alabama's coaching staff. But overall, after that, it was just effort. There was no effort. There was no pop. There was no flying around to the ball. There was nothing there that really showed, like, after we went up 7-0, we had 9 rushes at one point on the first drive. After that, there was no other spark.
Non-existent.
After that, in the game, there was no deep ball. There was no long run. There was no hard hit. There was no turnover. although we didn't turn the ball over either, but there was no turnovers. There was nothing big that happened that allowed us to get the momentum back. And I knew once Florida State scored and it was 14-7, that was it. Like, there was no way for us to come back, and not in that environment. But it's just, it's a difficult thing to see because you can't lose the opening game. You haven't lost the opening game in 20 years, so it's even more troubling. You got your Southern Baptists waking up today on Sunday going to church. They got a bitter taste in their mouth. They're going down on their knees right now at the altar praying for those Alabama Crimson Tide. Kalen DeBoer's got to wake up today. He's got to go get down on his knees like these Southern Baptists and pray to God that this team can turn it around, because it's going to be a long season.
Yeah, we gotta cut out this seem like we just I know y'all philosophy, you Ryan Grubb and Nick Sheridan. I know what y'all like to do on the West Coast with all that.
Right.
But this is still Alabama. This is still smash mouth SEC football. Yeah, it's cute to have that finesse. Even with a Tua Tagovailoa and a Bryce Young, we still want to run the ball. We still want to be run first. So it's just like, and we got a quarterback that can help open up the run game. Y'all just got to believe in it. It's the fact that you're not gonna get a chunk or a gash or play on a run play every down, but I feel like sometimes y'all didn't even help the quarterback out. It's 2nd and 7, and we taking shots. Like, no,
shots.
you can hand the ball off. You can hand the ball off and get another 3 yards and make it 3rd and manageable. You can play the 3 yards in the cloud that does football all the way down the field if needed to kind of slow the game down and give your defense a break. It's kind of taking it back to the situation with the Alabama versus Vanderbilt game. You see the defense struggling, so let's help the defense out and keep and keep them off the field at times as well. And it's always that power spread offense just with this against this 4-2-5 defense just does numbers like 200 rushing yards. No, we was missing Tim Keenan. Tim Keenan is, like I said, the 1 tech, 3 tech, however you may have it, but he's good in run fits. We didn't have that. It seemed like we just had a bunch of edge rushers out there at times looking like we trying to stop the run, man. And then like you said about Deontay Lawson, it seemed like it's that Dylan Moses arc. Like, we come in, one of the best things ever, and then you start playing. Okay, you're producing, then you get that knee injury. It's just like you fall off a cliff. Like, so I don't know. And as far as Todd Simpson, you could tell at times he was trying to do too much. It's like Todd Simpson, sometimes you just got to take the free chicken. Just check it off to your running backs, man. And we get these 4-5 yards, like just winning on 1st and 2nd down. We lost on 1st and 2nd down on both sides of the football. I will say that, like, because even like with Florida State players, we would get them. It looked like we was only stopping them for a yard or two. They would still push a little bit forward to get a few more yards and turn them second and 8s and 2nd and 9s into 2nd and 7s and 2nd and 6s. We didn't get that type of push as far as our running game goes. And then Big Caden Proctor, you probably gonna be the first offensive tackle taken off the board next draft, but you didn't show it. You looked like you did at moments when you made your first start against Texas. Not your first start, your second start against Texas. That's how you was looking out there. So it's a lot of work to do. It's the first game. Panic meter right now. I know a lot of people, a lot of Bama fans. Panic meter is probably at yeah, I would say, but I'm at a 3. Like, okay, cool. Florida State went 2-10 last season, so you know what they did? They've been preparing for this game ever since they lost to Florida at Thanksgiving weekend last year. That's when they started working on this game. Like, they already knew who they wanted. Gus Malzahn showed up. I think he took the job last December. Tommy Castellanos showed up because he left the team because of Bill O'Brien. That's not the type of quarterback he likes. So yeah, they've been working on this game, and then they got snubbed. This is a team that they chose over you for the playoff. So even then, and so they already had that going in, even though like they had the season that they had last season, they were already pretty much, hey man, Bama. We just need to make it to August 30th, 2025. And they did. And you're right. Saban ain't here to save us. But, I know a lot of people calling for Saban and all that. But, hey, let Nick beat Nick. We still got a chance. It's the first game. I'm not panicking after one game. Now, if Alabama go out here and start 1-3 or something like that, then, yeah, all right, hey, what's going on? But I don't see that. That's a long shot.
Yeah, it is.
any like bright spots that we saw as far as I know on defense. I really, like I said, I don't care. I mean, like losing, okay, cool, but and how we lose, that's what I'm not okay with. Like that getting pushed around in the trenches because the game is won or lost. And I say it all the time. Y'all can have all this finesse and all this. You can pass the ball around the yard, but ultimately, when you need to win a championship, you need to be able to run the football, stop the run, and so that's all. At any level, NFL, college, you need to be able to. You still need to pack you a running game. You still need to be able to stop the run. Because if not, it's going to be a long day for you at the office. So, but any bright spots that we could take away?
I think the bright spot is exactly what you just said. The fact that you already got this out the way, game one. Now that you got it out the way, now you can go ahead and come together as a team and try to figure out what you're going to do with this season. The best thing about it is the next two games are at home. Yeah, a tune-up can be a tune-up game or it can be a trap game in UL Monroe. And then you got Wisconsin now having to come to Alabama, which I think is going to be a game that's controlled by the crowd as well. Then after that, you take a break, and then you go on the road to Georgia. By the time you get to September 27th, you should be a completely different team. Like you said, this can either be a 1-3 situation, or you can come out of this 3-1. You come out of this 3-1 after those couple games. You got Vanderbilt, you got Missouri, and you got Tennessee. I think in that set of games, it's the same pace.
And now it's to say we at a point now we can't even look over a Vanderbilt because guess what? That's the same type of quarterback. Offense might not really necessarily be the same, but come on now. They licking their chops now. Like we just did to them last season. So guess what? All we got to do is, do what Florida State did and did what we did last season. And, my brother got the shirt on that says KISS. That's all they got to do. So, keep it simple, stupid.
Vanderbilt ain't got nothing but what's the name? The quarterback.
And the tight end, number 9. So
they don't have the athletes like a Florida State or anybody else. So then you come to Tuscaloosa. So you already know what time it is with that. I don't see them doing the same thing they did last year. But as far as a bright spot, Jeremy Bernard and Cuevas, those are the most two consistent on offense as far as catching the ball. You can also say Ty Simpson was a bright spot because if we all noticed last year with the passing game, we didn't really throw no short, intermediate passes or did any type of screen.
All deep shots.
Deep shots or turnaround, receiver run a stop route.
Stop routes, but we're running middle screens, slants,
a lot of different variations.
Play action, like rollouts. He rolling out on the play action. Yeah.
So with that, that's a good sign that we can actually, whatever play we call, he can throw it, put it. So
yeah, I will say because when Milroe those 2 years, no knock on Milroe because Milroe he was gifted in his own way, able to use his legs. But when it came to the passing game, I did used to hold my breath. Like with Ty Simpson, I didn't really have to do that yesterday because like with Milroe, we just never know because even when Milroe you didn't want to take off running. You didn't want to take off running because you was just too busy looking at one guy. And by the time, at least Ty Simpson was breaking away from sacks, he was moving around in the pocket. So that's a reason.
He was much better than people anticipated him being yesterday.
Yeah, this is his first start. Y'all sat here and tried to hitch this
game.
Y'all tried to hitch the wagon of Milroe y'all tried to hitch the wagon for Milroe for 2 years. And now after one game, y'all already calling for Keelan Russell. No, that young man is not ready yet. We're not about to throw him into the fire.
Ty threw 40 passes and still completed almost right 55%.
At 50%. Yeah, in the rain or whatever.
Did not turn the ball over and still threw. Yeah, and still threw 2 touchdowns. I don't see any reason to panic on Ty. Ty, like I said, the Ty that we are going to get in a couple weeks against Georgia is going to be completely different from this one. I only see it getting better. And the more comfortable he gets with this offense, I think it'll all gel. And then Ryan Williams didn't even get a lot of action yesterday. So Jeremy obviously is Ty's favorite target, but
Mr.
it's
Reliable.
It's not Milroe and Ryan anymore. He's not being force fed the ball. And I didn't like how that looked as far as energy wise. like watching receivers run routes, you see certain things. You see when they throttle down way too early. And there was a couple times where I saw guys throttling down too early because they felt like Ty was giving up on the play. No, you got to give him a chance. Like, he stood in the pocket when he needed to stand in the pocket. Like you said, he broke away from a couple sacks, made a couple good plays. He'll watch some film. He'll see when he needs to run, when he needs to throw, how to get better doing that. But he played real game speed this week against
Finally.
against a very hungry team.
And I will say that 4th and 10, like I said, I was told, my partner was watching the game with yesterday. I was like, even though we did not convert, man, just by him almost getting the necessary yards to get that first down, I was like, hey, this is my guy. Because it's 4th and 10. Like, most quarterbacks still on 4th and 10, I'm gonna just throw it up and hope for the best. Nah, he almost got the first down on a run play. So it's just like, but that comes with in-game decision making, because we saw on a 4th and 7 when he tried to make a pass, he had a lane to run, he didn't run, he threw it. So now, so stuff like that. So he came back and basically did not make the same mistake twice. And maybe if he just a tad faster or stick his arm out past the marker, we get a first down. And as far as even during Nick Saban's tenure, towards the twilight years of the tenure, penalties were issued with Nick Saban. That's a player thing. That's not even a coach thing. That's just on players. Like, we got a guy falling on a guy after he's down when we trying to get the ball back, because we got the momentum. Because you see that they're not going to progress the ball through the air. They're going to be okay with, hey, we just going to run it. Whatever we get, and we're going to put our defense back out there, and hopefully they can get a stop. But once you do something like that, and it's like, okay, well, we pretty much got this game in the bag. Now we can do whatever, kick a field goal, go for a touchdown, and we got this game in the bag. So yeah, that discipline factor, I like that. That's a player thing, and I think the coaches just need to hold them a little bit more accountable. Like, what are we doing? Like, we committing foolish penalties like that, like a holding. I'm okay with a holding, even a pass interference, because it shows that, hey, man, like, okay, I'm trying to protect my quarterback, or I'm not trying to get scored on, but like falling on a player that's already been, pretty much after the play is dead, or some false starts and jumping off sides, that's lack of focus. Like, stuff like that is just lack of focus. So a lot of this stuff got to get cleaned up, and I don't know what it is about the Sunshine State, but every time we touch down there, it always got to rain. Rained in Tampa, South Florida 2 years ago. Rained in Tampa at the bowl game, and then Tallahassee rains again. So it's just, hey, man, can we just stop playing in that state? I don't know, what I'm saying? But that's pretty much all I got for Bama. If y'all want to finish it off with something else before we move on to the next topic. And that's it. And speaking of quarterbacks, the most overhyped prospect in all the sports that I've seen in the X amount of years, all based off of last name. Arch Manning also makes his first start on the road against the defending champs Ohio State Buckeyes. They seem to pretty much have Sarkisian's numbers when it comes to Ohio State's defense. So what do we think about Arch Manning? Like I said, I'm not gonna be one of those ones that bag on him, because I know he's making his first start in an environment of 100,000 plus against the defending national champs. I, for one, didn't jump on that hype train. So that's another reason why I'm not going to try to, build him up just to destroy him, because I, for one, didn't jump on that hype train. But what do we see Arch going from here? Because he didn't have his best game either.
He did all right due to the circumstance and the environment, and then especially playing against a good Ohio State defense.
Defending national champions.
Yeah.
NFL coordinator. So he's played the cream of the crop when it comes to wins against the cream of the crop when it comes to quarterbacks. So
yes, and he knows how to scheme around that. Along with Arch, I felt that they did put him in some situations that he shouldn't have been in, such as the 2 4th and 1s inside the 10. I felt they should have kicked field goals, and the reason why, if you know that Ohio State has a stout defense, they just stop you out of all game. You're on the road in a hostile environment. Go ahead and take those points. So
with your defense actually playing well as well. So yeah.
So let's just say they didn't go for it on those 2 4th and 1s where they didn't get stopped, and they kicked field goals. That's 6 points. And what was the final score? I forgot.
14
14-7.
to 7.
14-7. So you have those 14 points. Those 6 points, that's 13. Then on top of that, I think there was another situation where they could have had some points as well.
On the field goal.
Yeah, field goal. So in my opinion, instead of trying to be aggressive and go for the touchdown, I feel if they had a settle for those field goals, they would add up and they would have won by at least 3 points, in my opinion.
Bingo. Great point. I know I said I was done with Alabama, but I do want to say one other thing. Since you said that about field goals, I noticed the same thing in the Texas Ohio State game, but two different situations in the Bama game that could have really brought that to a one-score game. Is we missed the field goal early in the game from 51 to something like
53, I think
that.
it was 53 yards.
53.
And then we had a 4th down that we went for at the end of the 3rd quarter that I felt like we should have took a field goal and cut it to 20-31 instead of we should have cut it to 20-31 instead of trying to go for a score right there. Same thing with Texas and Ohio State. That's a that's compared to what Ty Simpson went through. Arch went through hell as his first game. That's not an environment for a kid that's getting his first start. He definitely needed a home start, but it's okay. I think it definitely blew my prediction down probably 10,000 points for sure. But just like with Alabama, I think Arch has a chance to improve from here. Probably, there's some people that, just like with Colorado, Deion, Shador, they want to see this part of it, but I'm hoping that he'll be able to get better from here. Ohio State defending national champions, man. That's they got their coaches, so they're good, and they got some of the best players on both sides of the ball. So I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a tough one.
No, I will say on Ohio State's part, Julian Sand, like I said, former Bama commit, switches over to Ohio State. It was some fundamentals like Jeremiah Smith, who I've crowned the best receiver in college football. Kind of, just some fundamental mistakes that he was making, like dropping wide open passes because he's trying to turn up field before securing the catch. But as far as their defense, that defense, they got obviously we see they got a championship defense. Like I said, Matt Patricia might not be the brightest head coach, but when it just comes to controlling one side of the football, he's mastered that, especially being under Bill Belichick. And then, like I said, he's faced MVP caliber quarterbacks, all pro caliber quarterbacks. So a red shirt sophomore making his first start in an environment like that, like we not losing sleep over that. I know what I can do, especially when you got a guy like Caleb Downs and you got an elite pass rush that they got that you just plug and play anywhere. But so where does Texas go from here? Like, anybody got their schedule pulled up? I'm pretty sure they got after a game like that, I'm pretty sure they got a tune up in week 2.
Let me see.
Because they got a game as well that's like a mid-season game as well.
Texas got three tune-up games before they play anybody else real. They play San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston.
Okay.
And then they take a break, and then they go to Florida, which is going to be a hell of a game.
Oh, they got Florida and Oklahoma back to back. So
yeah. They got to go to Florida.
Yeah. And I said, I know Dre was on the side of Texas winning the game. So I said there could potentially be 2 losses before even the end of the season. Now it's looking like they could potentially have 3 losses. They can lose that Florida game on the road. So it's going to be a rowdy crowd. And that Oklahoma game, we all know what the Red River Shootout does, a Red River rivalry, whatever you want to call it. We all know what that is.
So let me pose a question then, just to you all. So Texas came in as the number 1 team in the country. Sark has to have some unreal, I'm not going to say unreal, but some very high expectations for him this season. And so you bring up a very fundamental point that there's a possibility that they come out of the regular season with 3 losses. What happens with Sark if there is a place where they come to 3 losses in this season.
I don't necessarily think they move on, but
They ain't gonna move on just yet.
yeah, but it's just it is gonna be a little blaze on the seat. It's like I said, because we talked about it, you know what I'm saying, on our first show. The money that is being spent and for that program, and we only can muster up 9-3 at best. Like, yeah, so there's gonna be like some side eye. There are gonna be some side eyes, definitely. It's probably gonna be some money pullbacks, like, you know, hey, like, why are we investing all this money? Yeah, why are we investing all this money? Yeah,
whoever gave Arch this schedule did not like him. At Ohio State, at Florida, railroad robbery,
at Georgia,
trap game, trap game in Arkansas, trap game against Vanderbilt, trap game and a night game against Kentucky, and to end the season against Texas A&M. That's not
like
a very easy
it's
schedule
a flip
for somebody like him.
When they added Oklahoma and Texas, they basically y'all gonna run the same schedule back basically 2 years. So it's everything is in reverse. The dates might have changed, but as far as the opponents, hey, they came to y'all, you go to them, or you went to them, they come to y'all. So that's pretty much how it went down. But yes, I am looking at they're gonna be 3-1. They could possibly be, but before they go into that Kentucky game, you could see a 3-3 Longhorn squad. Will I think it be? I don't think so, but they have to split. And I'm pretty sure Sark is forward planning. Obviously, you don't want to overlook your tune-up games as well, obviously, because anything can happen in those games as well.
Right.
But he's probably thinking, like, we got to split that 2-game stretch with Oklahoma and Florida. We got to split those 2 games at best. And then, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you got 3 losses and then you go to Georgia and we say 9-3, you can be I know they call Texas A&M Texas 8-4, and the Longhorns, that name can stick with them, you know what I'm saying? So you don't want to come in, you don't want to go to that game in November and and then potentially lose that game and have your 4th loss with championship aspirations. So yeah, Texas, like we said about Alabama opening up the show in the A block. That Georgia game, even the Wisconsin game, kind of got some magnifications, but that Georgia game has been lit up. Texas has 2 games now. They're like, hey, one is on the road in Gainesville, and the other one, as we all know, the rivalry that transferred over from the Big 12, the Red River Shootout. So we know how that game goes, and I'm pretty sure Oklahoma's probably going to be looking for revenge depending on how they start out, because Oklahoma has a big game this upcoming weekend as well. So there's that. And anything left on Texas? I mean, I pretty much, I ain't really got too much. And then the next game, our nightcapper. I will say this is one of the games I got wrong. I got this one wrong. I picked Clemson to win even over LSU, because history would tell you the first game of the season recently not to pick LSU, but LSU finally delivered. But we've shown on years that Dabro's reluctance to use the transfer portal and it's kind of been holding them back. And it seems like even now, a team that also was looked at as I don't think a championship contender, but a playoff contender, and they only scored 10 points at home in Death Valley, and they lose. So what do we look at? We're going to start with the Clemson side. So what do we see from Clemson as far as their team?
Without their key receiver, they look pretty average. You only scored 10 points, but gotta understand LSU, they known for defense. So to go out there in Death Valley and hold them to only 10 points, that's a big statement, especially the number 4 team in the nation.
Yeah.
I think once Clemson gets it together on offense, they should be able to run the table in the ACC. I don't see anyone really stopping them other than Miami, and this is just I'm just going out on a limb and say it, Florida State. If Florida State is for real how they played Saturday, then hey, they might be in contention.
You say Florida State, but I looked at their schedule. They got Troy. We all know what Troy like to do. It ain't been as recent, but we all know what Troy like to do to teams like that. Especially, they'll come. You pay them money, they'll come beat you. But I'm looking at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is one of those scrappy teams that you don't want to just take them lightly. They'll upset a team. They basically kind of crushed Miami playoff hopes last season when they beat them. So like you don't want to
keep your
a
eyes
Georgia
on
Tech
that game, man. I think ESPN got it as a 50-50 split. And you gotta keep your eyes on Haynes King all season. Keep your eyes on him. As long as he can stay healthy this season, I think he'll be a really good player for Georgia Tech. Clemson, y'all said Georgia Tech and Florida State. I'm looking at South Carolina to end the year, as long as they can stay healthy. And they have Sellers and Harbor. I think that could be, I think we're looking at more 3-loss teams as things get more competitive and the playoffs grow. We're going to see more 3-loss teams than we used to seeing because everybody's scrapping to get into the 12. That I think teams are going to start looking past certain games, looking to other games, and let one slide under the cracks. So
I mean, like I said, Dabo has been their most successful coach in the history of that program. So I don't think like you don't just move on from a Dabo, but you will kind of be like, what are we gonna
you gotta do something?
What can we just become a perennial playoff contender? Because I think a championship for even a Clemson is still a long shot. Because I still think Dabo slowly but surely he's adapting, but he's probably not adapting as fast as he should. Because he should have been on this wave. You know what I'm saying? As
he
far
could
as
have got way more than what he thought.
Because you like, especially like the transfer portal and NIL first happened, like you were basically two transfer portal in 20, and then the NIL started coming 21. So you're 2 and 3 years removed from the championship that you won. You could have built on that, but you wanted to be the one to go against the grain, and y'all fell off a cliff for a little bit, and then now you kind of got back to relevance last season because how the playoff format was structured. You are automatic conference champ, so you automatically get a playoff spot. But now it's kind of like, nah, we got to come with it. And as far as flip, we take it over to the LSU side. LSU, I think Brian Kelly. I think he got his second signature win. His first signature win being against Alabama when they walked them off in overtime 3 years ago. So this is his second signature win as far as Brian Kelly. And I know you call like Texas one of the prove a year for Texas. I called it a prove a year for LSU as well. And they needed a game like this because like I said, Brian Kelly, I call it, he's a good coach, but I don't think he's an elite coach because in matchups like this tend to not, win these matchups. They finally executed well. Even Lee Corso, predicted them. Shout out to the great Lee Corso and happy retirement to him. This is his national championship team. But do we see championship aspirations from LSU? Because also even before Brian Kelly showed up, we saw in like some Les Miles era and all that good stuff, LSU would lose some games. It was like, wait, you lost to this team? All right, you're a team so still keep an eye on that. And as I pull up their schedule, they got Florida week 3. So, but they got it at home. They got Florida at home, and then Southeastern Louisiana, and then they got an Ole Miss. I want to say, I think that's week 5. They got Ole Miss on the road at Ole Miss, and they think they beat Ole Miss in overtime. If I'm not mistaken. So, what do we see? Basically, LSU before that bye week at week 6. Do we see they're 1-0 right now? Do we see like a 3-2 from a LSU, a 3-2 start, or a 4-1 start, or even a 5-0?
I think they go 5-0. They already got past Clemson. If they get past Florida, of course they're gonna be
Which I
South.
think they will.
Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, he tend to throw a game the way he get too happy and just do extra, do the most.
I saw it when I watched their whole game versus Kentucky last season. He definitely like, what are y'all
So
doing?
I rely on Lane to throw that game away. Now, once they get past Ole Miss, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, and Alabama, that's where it's gonna get tricky. because you got a good South Carolina team with Sellers, and you have Vanderbilt. You got to go to Nashville with I forgot the boy name, the quarterback,
Diego Pavia.
Pavia. Then you come back to Baton Rouge. Then you have to come to T-Town at night. So after they play really once they play Ole Miss, 1, 2, 3, 4, they in for a good 5-week stretch.
Yeah.
And that's actually the heart of the SEC schedule. So
in that 5-game stretch, okay, if we're calling them 5-0 and you got a 5-game stretch, for them to even be considered to have a playoff spot, they basically got to finish
it'd be a
go to
4-game
3-2.
stretch.
Well, in that case, they got to at least split 2 games at worst.
They gonna lose to Bama. Bama gonna be a whole different team by then.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And in T-Town, I don't see him beating Bama in T-Town. Yeah.
I'm gonna just hang the jury out on Alabama right now. I'm gonna just. There's some games going on today as well. We got Miami, Notre Dame. I know we made predictions, but I think I picked Notre Dame for obvious reasons because of Carson Beck. I don't trust that guy. But South Carolina and Virginia Tech, South Carolina is another one of those teams that could have potentially, got a chance to make it to the playoffs, especially with that hot streak that they did last year. So they're going to be looking to, prove that they can become a playoff contender as well. And then Shane Beamer, we're having ties to Virginia Tech with his father being the head coach there for almost 30 years, him being a former player of their program. What do we see this game, in another SEC-ACC matchup, as we've seen Tennessee and Georgia being winners, as well as LSU. It seems like Alabama's the only team that lost to ACC team. But so what do we see from this South Carolina-Virginia Tech game today?
I think Sellers gonna have a big game. As long as he don't turn the ball over, I think it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I think it's all about Sellers. I really like Sellers. I went to see him play in person last year. In that game where came all the way down to the last second in Tuscaloosa, and that was a very good game overall. He was a freshman at the time, so
A couple completed passes.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I'm more excited to see him than anything today. So I got to take SEC in that case.
Okay. I will say Virginia Tech, like I said, Virginia under the my guy Frank Beamer, under the Frank Beamer stick, they were a very scrappy team, a team that would constantly, you can pencil them in as an 8-9 win team, a very competitive team. It hasn't been like that. I don't. Is Fuente still the head coach there? I'm not sure, but it hasn't been like that as of late. That's all I'm saying as far as a Virginia Tech goes. But I think this still will be one of these hard fought games. But I think South Carolina will pull away late and probably win this game by, I'll say, like by a final score of 30 to 20 or something like that. But and then I'm gonna look at South Carolina's schedule after this game, because this game ain't even happened yet, so it's a possibility they could lose. So they have Virginia Tech, South Carolina State.
They go straight in the SEC play after the
Vanderbilt, Missouri, Kentucky, bye week, on the road at LSU, and then Oklahoma. So like their first 1, 2, 3, 4.
And they got
first 6 out of their 8 games, or 6 out of their 7 games are
SEC.
That's their chance to prove it that you belong to a playoff team. Like the only game I can see them losing outside of LSU, honestly, is Missouri. I don't even see them losing that. So I think by the time we could be looking at a 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. By the time they get to LSU, we could be looking at a 5-0 team. So, but that LSU is a maker. Like that can either, if they lose that game, it can either create a domino effect where they're going to lose a streak. If they win that game, it can be like, okay, yeah, we for real. And then they also have Alabama October 25th. So 2 weeks. And in between that, they got Oklahoma. So they're after that week 6 bye week, they got a 4-game stretch of LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Ole Miss. They got two. They got 2 home. They're home against Bama and Oklahoma, but they got to go to LSU and Ole Miss.
And they
So
gotta go to Texas A&M.
yeah, and they get Clemson to end the year off. But in that 4-game stretch for South Carolina, to basically stay on par for the playoffs. It seems like with every team that has a 4-game stretch like that, obviously, I think the consensus answer is you got to split both games. Yeah, I mean, not both games, split all 4 games at worst case scenario to be on par for a 12, one of those 12 spots. So, but we'll see. Gotta love it. After one game or 1 week, you're already kind of doing a forecast of how the team could
The
play
rest of
out.
the season.
Yeah, so there's that aspect of it. And as far as and taking it back to Georgia Tech, because I'm the one who wanted to highlight everybody's favorite West Coast team. What about the late game coaching from Coach Prime Friday night versus Georgia Tech that pretty much cost them? I didn't get a chance to see
You
the game
can't do
because I
that.
was actually at Auburn and
You
Baylor's
can't do
game.
that. You can't
How
do
do you
that.
go?
You
How do you go to the
cannot
locker room with 2 timeouts?
timeouts. With 2 timeouts.
You get to the locker room
With
with
2
2.
timeouts. That's coaching malpractice at its highest. Like there's nothing. If nothing else, we're going home knowing that we use every last timeout if that's what we gotta do. If we not out of this game, we using. I don't give a damn. Alabama had 1 timeout going into the 4th quarter. Guess what? That bitch still got used. I don't care how much we down. Like we're using every bit of the time that we got. You went home. You did not give your team. You got the ball back with 1 minute and 45 seconds. You did not give your team a chance to win that game.
No. Okay. And I will say, like I said, I know y'all threw them foes up as far as hey, that's how many wins it's already. Okay, we ticking. This your first game post Shadur and Travis. We got that out the way.
It
And
ain't
I'll
gonna
even
be
pull their
pretty.
schedule. I'll pull their schedule up. Let's go to the Big 12.
They'll beat Delaware. That Delaware State or they're just Delaware?
That's the Blue Hands, newly FBS team. They go to road. They go to Houston and play Houston.
Oh,
Wyoming.
I don't know about Wyoming.
They haven't been anything since Josh Allen, even with him. Yeah. Next, BYU. Yeah, they definitely
they
they losing to
again.
yeah. TCU on the road.
That's
I see
lost.
them losing now.
Yeah. Iowa State. Yeah, I'm sorry, they not beating no Iowa
They
State.
not. Nah.
Iowa State is probably one of the teams, one of the big them and Arizona State and Kansas State, like the 3 teams to watch as far as playoff contention. Bye week, Utah, Arizona, yeah, West Virginia. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
And then in the season they get Arizona State and Kansas State. So
They might just win
is it
2.
is it too late for me to change my original psych? I'm standing on it. 7-5 Colorado Buffaloes. I'm standing on it.
You get them too much. I get them 2. I don't see them beating nobody.
I'm not gonna come off my original. Maybe when it is their first bye week. Their first bye week is week 8, so that's a long time from now. So in a good month and a half, and they got what they play 7 straight games. So if they are 2-5, I'll come back and change my original. But if they are 3-4 or even a 4-3, then I'll stick by my gun of 7-5 as far as Colorado. So there's that. But yeah, coaching. Coaches can lose games, and as we see in regards like that, some
That was a
things you can't
terrible win.
coach. Yeah, some things like you just
Ooh.
can't coach. You can't coach like the stuff that we saw from Bama. That's not coaching. That's all just player. Like player got to hold himself accountable. I don't think nobody's that's the thing. I don't think nobody's really holding himself accountable
Not in
to
that.
end
Not
back
in
up
that.
at Bama.
Not that
Yeah,
night.
yeah,
Not from what I saw.
yeah. And
I wonder, does the expansion play a part in it? Because think about it. Just put yourself in the player's mindset. Okay, we almost got in with 3 losses last year. Okay, we Alabama. We can lose 2 games to get in. Whereas where they had just the 4 spots, once Alabama lost the game, they damn near go undefeated after they lose that first game and blow everybody out and win the championship.
I'm really hoping that they got
Y'all
more
think
pride
that?
than that. I'm really hoping that they got more
Yeah,
pride
because
than that.
one thing you don't want to do, and this is in
Is
any
ever
leave it up
being
to
a
chance. Yeah, and then
yeah.
leaving it
He,
up to
but,
chance.
but
Like
you
you
know,
don't
But I
want to.
do get I do
these
get what you're
youngins
saying
different.
though. Yeah, I
These
get
youngins different.
like at some point they probably was like, I'm finna get paid after the game. I
Now we
don't even
Bama,
give a
we gonna
fuck.
get in. We ain't worry about that. You
Yeah,
know,
like
these youngins different.
yeah, but you
They
don't ever
completely
want to.
different.
You don't ever want to leave nothing up to chance because at the end of the day, even in the NFL, because you got. Hey, if I'm 10-7, but the last spot goes to an 11-16, and you did the team that made the playoff over, they got in over you, and you didn't even play that team. So if you lose to that team for that wild card spot, okay, we got a chance. But we lost to a team on the opposite side of the conference, like we lost to an AFC team or an NFC team, and that basically kept us out of the playoff. You don't want to look back and like, man, only if we would have did that different. Only if we would have did that different. Just like with the 3 losses last year, if Alabama maybe controlled the clock a little bit more versus Vanderbilt, or if Alabama
And
cashed
had
in,
turnovers.
if Alabama cashed in when Tennessee gave them 3 extra possessions, even with 3 field goals, they scored a touchdown because they went up halftime 7-0. If Alabama goes up 16-0 on Tennessee in the first half, that game is different. Oklahoma, maybe if they was trying to still get Milroe involved in the run game, even though the running backs was when they was carrying the ball, were
It was
getting 4 or
cold as
5
hell out there
yards.
that night. I ain't gonna
Yeah,
lie.
so
I ain't want to play that night. It was so
so
cold out there.
yeah, so if one of those 3 games outcome turned different for Alabama, then yeah, they get in the playoffs over SMU. So yeah, man, it's just. But like I said, you do not want to leave things up to chance at all, at one
You
bit.
gotta think about it. That Oklahoma game. When the last time we seen Alabama play with sleeves on?
Oh God, them boys
It's
is
been
not
a
Man,
gonna
I
be out
seen it with the sleeves. I said, nah, this ain't right. They got sleeves on in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it was pretty because it was cold down here. I'm in
It
Texas.
was
It was
cold
cold
that
down.
night.
And then like I said, I was at Lil Bro's game Friday. I went to go check out Lil Bro.
Yeah, you had the outfit on too.
Had my Lil Bro gear on. Matter of fact, I forgot. We already kind of highlighted Auburn's schedule, but shout out to Auburn.
You want me to be honest by Auburn?
Yeah, let's go.
They need to play the other quarterback because Jackson Arnold ain't gonna get it. That running to the left, to the right, to the middle, then throwing a quick screen, that ain't gonna work.
Oh no,
Now
I
you
forgot.
Georgia.
We discussed. Well, we kind of discussed this pre-show before
Then
They
we
your
jumped
pass
on.
defense is
play
horrible.
Georgia. They gotta play Georgia at home this year too.
Yeah, Cam Newton retirement ceremony, jersey retirement. And speaking of the Bulldogs, let's talk about Georgia Bulldogs. Week 3, because they got Austin Peay, the Governors. Georgia can lay flat for 3.5 quarters and still end up winning that game by 28. So but let's get to the real meeting. They got Tennessee, they get a bye week, and then they get Bama. So what are we looking at as far as them going on the road to Knoxville? Joey Aguilar, like I'm gonna still pump the brakes on Joey Aguilar because they beat a basketball school. Syracuse, yeah, they kind of do some things on the football field, but
for a minute.
That's still a basketball school at the end of the day. And they ain't even really much of a basketball school as they used to be, but that's what we know them for. But that week 3 matchup versus Tennessee, and then we all know about of course, Alabama game, September 27th. 17 years to the date that I may add that they had the blackout game. So I hope Georgia don't come out there and think they're gonna do that again. But
not with Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah. So what are we seeing Georgia as? Because Georgia also has a 4-game stretch of Alabama, Kentucky, Auburn, and Ole Miss. Ole Miss beat them last year. Beat them pretty bad. Kentucky played them close. If Kentucky knew how to finish games, they would have beat Georgia before the Bama game. And Auburn, Auburn,
the right quarterback.
Much like I'm gonna step on somebody's toes here, much like how the Saints fans started the season last year, they thought they were gonna win the championship off 2 games. Auburn always that first game, it seemed like they want to get crowned as a national champ after the first game, and then reality kicks in. But not to rag on Lil Bro too much, but as far as Georgia, what are we seeing Georgia? Because they got the Florida game in Jacksonville, they got Texas, and then Georgia Tech at the end of the year, which Georgia Tech could have won that game as well if Georgia Tech had better creativity in their 2-point conversion plays in that game that they played. And Georgia is still the defending SEC champ, but are we sensing because Georgia lost to Notre Dame of all teams in the playoffs last season? Like what are we seeing from the Bulldogs?
I think the Tennessee game will show. It's too early right now to say. So we really gotta wait till they play Tennessee in Neyland. If they go up there and handle business,
Yeah, be
then
for
we'll know they
real.
for real. But if they go up there and Tennessee run them out the stadium, then that's gonna be something ain't right in Georgia.
Yeah,
And I will say Joey Aguilar was doing something Nigo struggled to do, was consistently
Throwing it
connect
deep.
on the deep ball. So there's that. And as far as it's gonna be a fun season, it's gonna be, you know what I'm saying, it's a lot. It's just week one, so it's gonna be a lot more to unpack as these seasons go on. Anything out of anybody else before we close this out?
hopefully it gets better, man. Going to the
Yeah,
game this week, so I'll talk
yeah,
about the IRL experience next week.
okay.
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll be like some really disgruntled shit going on.
Just some PO'd Bama play finally. Like, yeah, we just got embarrassed. But hey, but when you throw money on the table now, it's just like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But we need a Jimmy Johnson in there. Like, hey, y'all don't deserve to eat after I lost. No, don't get them no food.
Somebody need to slap somebody.
Yeah, so
Somebody's supposed to be got whooped after the game. I'm sorry.
yeah, man.
Somebody's
Because
supposed to be got whooped.
let
Fight or something.
that even the teams that didn't, like a team like the 2010 Alabama team who didn't win a championship that year, they still had some guys that be like, bruh, what are we? They was gonna make some plays. It's just, but they were full of themselves that year as well. Yeah, so but like I say, it's gonna get better. Like no panic, Bama Nation, don't panic. It's still Roll Tide over here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and check out all the NFL fans and all that. Make sure to be tuned in for the Let Me Say This podcast. Myself and Dre will be back on that soon. I know a lot of y'all been asking where's my guy at, Raphael. We will get to that. We will address that on the Let Me Say This show. So just stay tuned.
Y'all got a wrestling podcast?
Yeah, we working on that, but we can't find a third. Nah, man, everybody, as you know, me and Dre are the only two that gonna be consistently on every show, except for if we want to start talking MLB, then we gonna find somebody for that. But like I said, thank you guys for tuning in. Roll Tide, everybody, stay safe out there. Don't do anything too crazy. It's just one game. We'll get this thing together, and then peace out.